One of the best movements you can do is to move your spine in all six directions
Oh,
that it moves.
hi everybody. This is Diane Gilman, formerly known as the Queen of Jeans on QVC, HSN, but now the proud host of Too Young to Be Old, the title of my second book, and also the title of our podcast. And talking about being too young to be old. Exercise will do that for you. And if you are blocked from exercise the way I am, if you are over 50, which is 51% of America, and you're not going into another aerobics class, maybe yoga is too challenging for you. For me, after going through chemotherapy and radiation, I got lymphedema in my left arm and my right leg, and that was the end of running and of yoga for me. We've got a solution, and it's fascinating. And the solution is named Beth Ann from Beth Ann Yoga. We're going to talk about chair yoga, something I have been dying to learn more about for years now. Beth Ann, welcome.
Diane, you silly. Hi, it's Sarah Beth. Sarah Beth.
Sarah Beth,
Yeah,
see, there we go. The entire morning has been a technical and verbal disaster. Pardon me.
that is
So
okay.
let's talk about how you got to chair yoga and what you believe it can do for the body, because I go to a physical therapist and he said, well, I know you can't stand for very long or walk very far because I have to use a cane. We're trying to get me better, but it's not as effective as if you're standing, you've got the total blood flow. What do you think about that?
So, I initially want to talk about even that we need to reframe the idea of exercise,
Ah,
right? Because as you mentioned in the beginning, that you're limited from being able to do the same aerobics classes that you're so used to, and limited from and blocked from being able to do a lot of the same exercise you've been doing your whole life. And so when we approach something and we say, but that's not as effective as this, we're really framing in our mind what
yeah,
is appropriate, and not even what's appropriate, what's effective, but what's worth our time. So we
yeah,
might write something off completely, something like chair yoga. Ugh, not for me, right? Especially if we've been framing our entire life that exercise is a means to an end. Exercise is calorie burning. It is an hour at the gym in that cardio class or that aerobics class. But what if exercise could be an opportunity to check in with yourself, to connect mind with body, and to start to get some range of motion, some fluidity going in your body? What if it's just an opportunity to get your blood flowing? And that in itself can be very healing.
it is interesting and fascinating for me. Right before COVID, I had an opportunity. People brought me to Jane Fonda to meet her because she was considering getting back into the exercise industry again. But she wanted to do it as chair exercises. And in the end, the deal fell apart because the exercise community and the industry itself was not supportive of that.
I support it. Jane, Jane, let's do it. Yeah, I think that that would be so beneficial for so many people.
Yeah, she wound up feeling that she had no backing at all. And the interesting thing too is at the time, that was before I was diagnosed with breast cancer and went through treatment. And I thought, yeah, doing it from a chair, that's old lady stuff. And then after I went through having all those chemicals, which saved me, pumped through my body, I thought, oh, if only there were some chair exercises. So I think that so many of us past the age of 50 see the onslaught of conditions, diseases that need to be treated, drugs that need to be taken, that we start to think exercise is impossible. Everyone has left us behind. And the thing I hate the most about that is that actually accelerates the aging process if you are
Mhm.
not exercising. My joints are very stiff. I never expected that. And I know that if I do not do a certain amount of movements every day, the condition compounds. So I'd love to know what you recommend.
Yeah, but the idea of bringing a chair in, I know as you mentioned, it can feel like it's diminishing your exercise. It's diminishing of you, and that it's just you're mentally aging yourself by going into a practice like this. But again, let's reframe it. And instead of using a chair as a modification that might feel diminishing, it can be a personalization of your exercise. It's a customization of your
Completely.
exercise. And that's the beauty of yoga in general is that when you're practicing, you're really just meeting your body where it's at every single day.
I do not want to punish myself for growing old and say, oh, you're so old now, you can't do these movements, you can't hold that movement. One knee is much, 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 much more arthritic than the other knee. So I think that once we get past the age of 50 or 55, especially as women, you must make a routine for yourself that accommodates upping your blood flow, but at the same time is customizable. And that's what I see chair yoga as.
Absolutely. And it can be an opportunity, like I said, to check in with yourself and practice acceptance. So by
Ah,
denying, right, by denying what's actually happening in your body as it's happening, oh, I feel that my right knee is more arthritic than the left. But we're just going to ignore that. You're only aging yourself faster. You're only
totally.
allowing things to progress without you being a part of it. But by bringing in something like chair yoga, by modifying and customizing your exercise practice and reframing what exercise means to you, you can actually bring more fluidity and motion to your body. Motion is lotion. So we
Yeah.
want to get range of motion, and a chair is a great way to take away some of the excess pressure and gravity and strain that you might be feeling otherwise. So you can get into certain yoga poses that may have been more challenging without the chair. And you can get all the benefits of these poses and all the really feel good stretches and feel very energized at the end. I mean, do 5 or 10 minutes of chair yoga once and you'll see just how good it can feel.
Can we take a look? I think you're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
demonstrate, right, which really, really, really excites me because I loved exercise as a young woman. And I truly, really miss it and want to get back to some sort of regime. And this just could be it. Hi, today we're talking about Particlar. This is a series of supplements, and let me tell you what, if you are aging with any sort of inflammation that becomes one of the biggest issues in your everyday life, and swelling and joint pain, oh, I'm on it 100%. I've begun a new vitamin regime from Particlar that has literally changed my life. And I feel so much better on a daily basis. Try it out with a discount using our code below. You are going to love it.
Let me
Yay.
give you a little rundown of what some chair yoga could look like. And I'm going to use my chair in my office that has a back but no sides.
Yeah.
So a card table chair, excuse me, Boo. My cat is enjoying this chair right now. A card table chair, one of those folding chairs, would work just as well. And a chair like this can be used to help with balance. So you can stand next to the chair and just hold on to it for certain poses, certain balance poses. Like even if you're standing, even something as simple as a mountain pose. So standing with your feet about hip distance apart, and the chair's right there in case you need it for a little extra balance, and standing up tall, reaching your arms overhead without allowing your ribs to flare open. So this in itself seems so simple and seems so basic. But to do mountain pose, there's actually a lot of alignment going on in your body. And if you feel wobbly a little bit, you always have that chair you can grab onto. So something like mountain pose already is a nice aligning pose. It's a great way to check in. and a great way to ground down. So grounding is an act of feeling the surface beneath you, having equal balance beneath you. And as you do that, you become more present in the moment. So a lot of us have our minds are running all the time, just
Oh,
practicing
mine
feeling,
is.
right? Something else you can do with a chair is you can use the chair as an exercise to help you practice sit stand exercises. So it's not
Yes.
like a squat, because a squat can be too deep, especially if you've had a hip replacement. A squat could be too deep. But instead, you can use that chair, and it's a normal height chair, to just stand right in front of the chair, feet again, hip distance, feet grounding down, equal weight pressed down through each foot. And you can keep your hands in front of you. If you feel like you need to start from the ground up, then I would suggest you sit down first on the chair and use your hands to support you as you lean forward, nose forward, and slowly help yourself to stand up. If you need more assistance, you can grab another chair or something else, a counter to grab onto, and stand up. Same way back down. You can grab something to support you. If you feel like you're going to flop, like fall down onto your chair, that means bring more support in. Customize
Yeah.
with a counter height. But you can also progress this, and progressions in yoga and in chair yoga are going to be slow progressions. Don't rush yourself. No jerky movements. But a progression, maybe after a couple of weeks, or maybe you feel in your body, I'm ready for this. You don't need to hold on to anything, and you just practice standing and sitting. Now, here's the real challenge is I want you, as you're practicing standing and sitting in this chair. So I'm just on the edge of my chair even. I'm barely sitting in the chair. But imagine that you were trying to rip the ground in half between your feet, and you will start to engage your glute med. So the muscles on the sides of your hips, these muscles will engage as you are sitting and standing, and you will build strength, and you will feel it, because even as we talk about a reframe, there's still so much of us that wants to feel something, right? You will feel it if you can practice spreading your feet apart as you sit stand. Now, as far as chair yoga, actually sitting in the chair, there are so many things that you can do, so many yoga poses that you can modify just from a chair. And this is really great, especially if you work at a desk. You find yourself getting a lot of strain in your upper back, tension
Yeah.
in your chest, your neck. So, without doing anything in your lower body, this is even great if you are recovering from an injury in your lower body. You can do so many upper body exercises like side bends, reaching one arm up and then leaning over, just tilting over like a little teapot over to the side, and you can feel your whole side open up. Now, remember we talked earlier about you want to feel it? This is where you got to back off a little bit and trust and start to listen to what's happening in a very subtle way in your body. So here, if I'm thinking about the subtlety, I'm going to recognize, oh, there's a slight opening in between my ribs. There's a little bit of a stretch right above my hip, my oblique area. And then you can breathe into that. You don't even have to have your arm reaching all the way up. You can take your hand behind your head with your elbow pointing up if that feels better for you. After a couple deep breaths, you'll do the other side, always working towards balance, even if one side feels completely different than the other.
Yeah, which mine would, because I have lymphedema from taking out all of my lymph nodes on my left side. So, but I can see how I can customize this. And one thing that happened to me also, and it probably happens to a lot of people that get a knee replacement, a hip replacement, or are just experiencing really achy, creaky joints, is then you tend to move less. And the less you move, the worse the pain gets. And then it just becomes like being a sick little hamster on a treadmill. So, what would I do? A specific chair yoga exercise for really creaky shoulder joints now.
Yeah, so you would do something that is maybe 5 or 10 minutes long, and I'll show you. But I'm saying I want it to be short so that you can do it almost every day.
Yes,
It as
yes.
your physical hygiene practice. You're speaking of your shoulders. So think of your shoulders as like It's like brushing your teeth. If you brushed your teeth for 1 hour once a week, you would not walk away thinking, that's good. My breath is going to be great all week long, right? So, same with your shoulders. 5 or 10 minutes a day, every day, is what's going to help you loosen that up. But if at any point you are practicing and you feel pain, strain, burning, aching, something that your body's telling you, back off, that's an opportunity to listen and back off. It's better to listen to your body, take a break, than it is to push through and strain something, and your body's going to force you to take a break. So let me show you what this would look like. So something with your shoulders is first you'd want to just warm them up. That could be as easy as sitting in your chair. Every time you sit in your chair, by the way, for chair yoga, again, grounding your feet equal hip distance apart. So your legs are parallel coming out of your hip sockets, feet pressing down into the floor. You're grounding. So right now it's an opportunity to become present in this moment. You can take a deep breath in, exhale to let everything go. These next few minutes are for you. And just shrug your shoulders up to your ears and down your back. This is familiar. So you're going to shrug up and down, eventually coming into a circular motion. So it's like forward, up, and down. And just a couple of those, you can go as slow as you'd like to. And as you're doing that, notice, are you clenching anywhere else in your jaw, in your neck?
It
Let
feels
that
good.
go.
It
Right.
feels good. And I have an instinctual belief, not an educated belief, that you've got to get blood circulation up here because that is nourishing to the brain. And Alzheimer's is something none
Mm.
of us want. And I believe there are ways to make it, if it is going to come on slower. And one of them is having the proper blood circulation in your upper body.
Yeah, so let's get more blood flow after those shoulder rolls, right? A couple forward, up, and back. Then you can take your hands to your shoulders, fingertips wrapping around the front. Yeah, just like that, just like you're touching your shoulder caps. And you will pull your elbows together in front of you. They may not touch. That's okay. We're not forcing or straining. So as your elbows come towards in front of you, then I want you to think about reaching your elbows up into a big circular motion, like you're drawing circles on the side walls with your elbows, and then down and back together. So elbows reach up and open,
Ooh.
back and down, and just keep that going a couple more times, getting some blood flow in there. And follow the range of motion that serves you. If you strain into a deeper stretch, you will leave feeling strained. You'll be like, that chair yoga.
Yeah, my left arm is contains so much more fluid than my right arm does. And I never, I don't know, I had a totally ridiculous view of growing older that, well, yeah, your hair turns white, you gain a little weight, that's about it. And then it was like, whoa, what is this pain? And then you start to realize if you are not moving key parts of your body, they are atrophying on you. Everyone always says, oh, Diane, you've got such great legs, such skinny legs. Yeah, because I lost all the muscle mass. Yeah, right? So it looks good, but people, it's not the best way to approach aging. Movement is the best way.
Movement. And one of the best movements you can do is to move your spine in all six directions
Oh,
that it moves. Yeah. So your spine and it extends into your neck. So we'll move the neck this way too. But your spine moves in six directions. So I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see, but I'll explain it for those listening. So your spine can move forward, inflection, right? And that's like a rounding of your spine. It's like you're hunching forward. You can tuck your chin and you may not go very far, but you're still rounding your spine. You're creating some of that movement. That's one direction. The other
that
direction is
feels good.
extension. Yes, right? The other
Wow.
direction is extensions, where you're going to lean back and lift up through your heart. And again, may not go very far. But just this extension, leaning back, roll your shoulders back, lift up through your heart, lift your chin up, is going to help to open up. And just going between the two, exhaling as you round your spine, tuck your chin, cave your shoulders, draw your belly in. Inhale as you lift your chest, Lift your chin, roll your shoulders open, exhale as you round and cave, inhale as you open. That's a very basic motion in yoga, going between flexion and extension. It's a great way to get more spinal fluid, and it's only the 2 out of 6 ways that our spine moves.
And also, one thing I find is I need more sleep at night, which is very hard to get, and the older you get as a female. But also, I used to gulp in a lot more oxygen because I was running. I was doing aerobics, and now not. And that just felt really good. Getting that air in
Mm.
just felt enriching, if that's the right word to use.
And imagine if you did that every day, just a couple, right? Just a big, deep breaths. And then as you're rounding, the muscles in your back, you'll start to notice will open up and you'll feel more loose, less tension, less strain. So the other 4 directions to move your spine would be side to side, right and left, side to side. So as we did before, you can reach your arm up, you can even roll your wrist out if you need, and just go side to side, opening up through your whole side body. So we just went through 4, which is front and back, side to side. And then the other is twist right, twist left. Now, listen, you got to listen to your body on twisting. A lot of people will twist and just torque themselves like crazy, thinking that's what they're supposed to do, but that's not it. Twisting has to come with control. So, in your sitting chair position, especially if you've had any kind of a hip injury or hip replacement, you need to make sure that you are stable through your lower body. We're not twisting that lower body. Both hip bones stay grounded and pressed down into your chair, and you are twisting, think through your heart and shoulders. So, if you're going to twist to the right, you will just turn your shoulders to the right, turn your chin to the right, and then you just continue moving through your shoulders and chin, but your hips stay grounded. So, it's like you're kind of swiveling at your waist. And then you can continue using your hands to support you if you need to, taking your right hand to the right side of your chair, your left hand outside of your right knee, to twist to your right through your chin, even through your gaze, as if you're looking for someone behind you. It's subtle, but you will feel a whole lot of opening, even through your eyeballs,
It feels good. It
right?
feels, yeah.
And let's make sure we do the other side.
And I think also when you are doing these exercises, there is a purification element going on. I think that you
Absolutely.
can hold a lot of toxins in your body, and how you breathe, how you work with your muscles. Oh, that felt really good. Is so elemental to feeling healthy
Yeah,
as you age, because I think we always equate aging with much less fluidity of body movement and a lot more resting periods. And I don't like to think of myself as a couch potato, but that's probably the direction I'm going. But it seems now to me that these are such intelligent movements that are attainable on some level to everybody. Like, I can't, anything I have to do with my left arm, it's like lifting the Titanic. I mean, there's a lot of fluid in there. It's much bigger than my right arm, but I can see where there's a way that I can work with it. And, you know, as you age, all you've got are your brain, your body, and what are you going to do with them? And I think you cannot function brain wise at an optimum level unless your body is feeling like it's integrated. Is that the right way to put it?
absolutely. And that's part of what yoga is. Yoga means connection, union, mind body connection. And when we separate our mind from our body, then our body gets left behind. But this body has been with us our entire life.
Yeah. Yeah.
This body
Yeah.
has experienced everything that your mind has experienced. So when you can learn to get back in your body and create that relationship with your body, listening to your body and customizing movement for your body, you'll create self-trust.
You know, self-trust is important, and it's wordage that I don't use. I always talk about self-care and self-love. But I will tell you that when I turned 79, August of 24, I thought to myself, you're not moving enough. Your diet is not good enough. There gets to a point where you become the primary caretaker for your health and your performance in life. And I don't know why the Western medical community doesn't integrate that into every single aspect of our lives, especially as females having gone through menopause. Um, but I cannot believe it. I know this sounds not authentic, but it is authentic. It's truthful. I feel better just doing some of these exercises with you a few times. I actually feel better than I did walking in to begin this podcast. Wow.
That's great. That's wonderful. And that just goes to show what even a couple of minutes of movement can do for your energy levels, your blood flow, and being in body. Like when you're not in your body can feel kind of numb and cold and disconnected, and your mind can feel like it's everywhere. Right? My brain is scattered. I'm thinking about the weekend. I'm thinking about this conversation I had. But when you're in your body, you become mindful and present, and there's a peace in being mindful and present. When you can carry that with you and practice that more often in your 5 to 10 minute daily hygiene practice, right? You can practice that more often. You can carry that with you into other areas of your life. And imagine how you would show up if you could show up mindfully.
When I went through chemotherapy, and I was very lucky, my body responded in an excellent way to the chemotherapy, and I was definitely not somebody who got terribly sick from chemo. But what you learn from this are two things, and they're almost polar opposite. The first thing is you must train yourself to be out of body, or
Mm,
else you're never going to get through chemotherapy. Because there are definitely some unpleasant parts that you literally barely or just tolerate. But the other thing, and I used to want to slug people when they said this to me because I was always pushing my body too far, was you are nothing without your health. You have only your own self and your health to depend on. So, what I see from chair yoga is loosening up, starting to get your muscles going again, getting oxygen, oxygenating yourself, getting airflow, getting blood flow, and functioning better every day. Because if you are living with pain, which I do, that overtakes everything. And you are not, if you go to an orthopedist, there's only two solutions: get a shot into your joints, which I don't think is the total solution because you're going to have to stop doing it after a while. It's going to eat up your joints. Or take pain pills, which I'm not going to do. I think that sometimes, you might agree with me, rejecting any form or solution that isn't linked to what your medical community tells you to do can be deleterious to your body, because the medical community is not going to say yoga is a solution. So I think that falls into the customizable. You must customize your self-care part of your everyday life. And you've actually got several um, videos that you've done for chair yoga. Where can we find those? And we're going to list a graphic for them.
Yeah, so I have chair yoga on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Sarah Beth Yoga. Sarah has an H in it, so it's Sarah Beth Yoga. I have 3 chair yoga videos on there, and I have a couple more inside the Sarah Beth Yoga app if you really want more. Now, always, as you mentioned, customize your self care practice. So we all have different stories, we all have different backgrounds, and as you customize, I even tell you this in the videos, continue to customize with what your doctor's recommendations are. You might have specific limitations from a doctor, and then I might be telling you something different. Listen to your doctor, listen to your body. But you can still use these guides, these videos to move and be guided and inspired or motivated even to get in those 5 or 10 minutes. And Diane, I want to show you real quick before I go away some other ways that you can use the chair yoga.
Fantastic.
So as I mentioned, you can move your spine in 6 different directions. You can do the same thing with your neck, and this is incredibly healing, even in just your neck. And that's forward and back, like you're nodding your head yes, right? And don't go too fast. I'm going to go a little faster so I can show you, but just
Okay.
take your time when you do it and notice if anything feels sticky, stay there, breathe into it, right? So forward and back. You can turn your head no, like you're saying no, side to side. And again, you can take your time, you can hold it and breathe into it. Notice the subtlety of muscles that are stretching, and you can go maybe. So your ear to one side and your ear to the other side. And that one can be really, really nice to open up through your trap and your
It feels
shoulder.
really good.
Yeah, so that's just the 6 directions in your neck, your cervical spine. Another thing that we haven't talked about yet is your lower body. So the chair for your lower body is a really great way to get into your lower body without having all of that excess pressure of gravity pulling your body down, you having to hold yourself up against gravity. So something like what I'm sitting in the chair, as I talked about in the beginning, I'm sitting kind of on the edge of my chair, feet ground down, legs about parallel with each other. You can pick your foot up and place it on your opposite knee, kind of like you're at a cigar club, like sitting like a man, like a gentleman, with your shin parallel out in front of you. And as you do this, you might think, I feel nothing. This is nothing. Subtleties. Okay. So by sitting up tall and just your hands can be in front of you for support, hinging very slightly at your hip. That's where you'll start to
Aha.
feel the subtle, but it starts to become more intense as you rest into it, opening in your right glute. So this is a seated figure four stretch. Right ankle is on top of your left knee, right knee is open, your shin is parallel in front of you, and it's just the slightest hinge forward at your hip, and you'll feel that opening. Listen to your body. Even this subtle opening is doing amazing things. So we're not seeking the craziest stretch or the most intense stretch to walk out of here feeling like that was worth it. Just this is good and you're going to feel great. You can do that on the other side, taking the left ankle to your right knee. Again, one side might feel different than the other. And I didn't
Oh,
mention this
yeah.
earlier. I really want to say this. Treat both sides as if they were the limited side. So know your body. And if your left hip has way less mobility than your right, then maybe consider starting with your left hip. Notice where you are, and then take your right hip to that place, even if you don't feel anything in the right, because you want your body to come back to balance. If you push your right hip to the point of feeling a stretch, and then your left hip is way further back, then you're only furthering that imbalance. Something else you can do in a chair is something like a lunge, but you will turn to the side of your chair, I'm turning to the left here, taking my left foot off the side of the chair in front of me. So now I'm basically sitting off the side of my chair. My right hip, I'm going to scoot it out so that it's not supported by the chair anymore, but I can grab onto the back of the chair for support, and I can just slowly start to walk my right foot back.
Ah.
Even the right hand to the base of the chair is great support here. And as I walk my right hip back, now my right knee's pointing down towards the ground. And that right there could be your lunge today. And again,
Yeah.
you might be thinking, I feel nothing. But let's go into the subtlety of it. And if you really push your right knee down and you drive your right heel back and you keep sitting upright, even here, I can feel an opening in my right hip flexor and my right quad. And it actually feels really good. So you don't have to go into a full extension of a lunge to get the benefit of it. Just this variation of a lunge where it's like 90 degrees in my right knee, 90 degrees in my left, but my whole left hip and thigh are supported by the chair can be enough to get that blood flow down your right leg, opening in your right hip flexor, which is so important because we spend so much of our time sitting and crunched up all day long.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, I do want to say that when I spoke to my therapist, he was saying that for me, it's really much more a soft tissue problem, and the fact that I didn't exercise for a few years because of COVID and because of breast cancer treatment, and your musculature gets very tight and thick, like a thick rubber band that doesn't have a lot of elasticity. And so these exercises are perfect for anybody out there who says, I don't know, I'm such a couch potato. Here's a way to be able to loosen yourself up, start getting that blood flow again, start feeling good again. I think the thing I loved the most about running was the blood flow through my body. And, we not only need this customizable exercise, we're the majority of America. We deserve it. And just in conclusion, there's yours. Mine is down, sitting on my feet, helping me exercise. Maybe I could lift Mr. Fuzzy, and that would be a great exercise. When I go for those shots in my knee, and I did not go this time, I skipped it because we're working on it. The doctor said to me, give you advice. She said, do you know I am obligated to do 70 shots a day?
Wow.
No time to talk. I have 2 minutes, maybe 2 minutes, 15 seconds for you. Do you want the shot or not? So I'm going to say again, of course, we want to say check with whichever doctor you feel is handling a physical problem for you. But if the hospital is not supplying that solution, they're not really interested in discussing it with you. And here's where you have to stand up for yourself, make your own decisions, and say, honestly, what have I got to lose? I've got everything to gain here with chair yoga. Oh, I loved this podcast. You are excellent, and so is your kitty. And we're yeah, who mine do the same thing. They want to know why you're paying attention to an electronic screen.
Right.
Um, we're gonna list. Well, she really does. We're gonna list everything in the graphics of this podcast for you to be able to see how manageable aging can be with Sarah Beth and yoga, but chair yoga. And I know how busy your schedule is, so I want to thank you a million times for making the time to educate us and get us started on our self care, self love routine.
Thank you so much, Diane. And I'm really looking forward to you and your audience trying these videos to see just how good it can feel to be
It's
present
fabulous.
and in your body.
This was fabulous. Thank you so much. Best of luck. And I will be going to your videos, and I'm going to try and start a more healthful and educated physical routine in life.
Wonderful.
Thank
Wonderful. Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.